All right, guys, how's everything going? Been a cold week. I see Lenny's in there. Hey, Lenny, how you doing, buddy? It's always great to see you. Always show support of the show. What an amazing guy, great guy. Lucky enough to got to meet him in person. What a great guy. Um, yeah, been a crazy week, guys. My work schedule's kind of hectic, so we are doing the shows a little bit earlier. We're going to try and start them at 6, because I have to be at work. I work overnights, and so I need some time to get ready and do all that and stuff like that. But not a big deal. Um, Other than that, everything, life is great. God is great. Everything's wonderful. It is only going to be me tonight. Johnny has some family things that he's dealing with the kids and some stuff with his family, his father and stuff. So prayers with him. Make sure everybody prays for Johnny and his family. But he'll be back, and everything will be great. Um, I had a fantastic weekend last week, and if y'all remember back in November, we had Mike Famillant on the show. He is the creator of In the Shadow of the Big Red Eye, I think is what is called, Shadow of the Big Red Eye. He was on the show, and he travels and he goes, throughout the country, and hits libraries and does presentations, Bigfoot presentations at libraries and stuff like that, which is pretty amazing. I thought it was pretty awesome. He happened to be at a location. It was actually his very first stop on this year's tour, and in Okeechobee. So I drove to Okeechobee to meet Mike in person and check out his presentation, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. He brings a lot of knowledge. He brings some humor. He brings his own personal life into it and stuff like that, and it was really a lot of fun. Had a good crowd in the library. There's I probably estimate about 60 people that were there watching it, so it was pretty cool. Um, I did do a video, so if you guys want to go to Bigfoot Florida Guy, I did post that last week, so you can watch the presentation and stuff like that. And now, granted, I tried to do the best on the quality, but we are in a library, and you are going to pick up ambient noises. There was a young little girl that was playing behind me and stuff, and I don't want to stop a kid from playing and stuff like that. She was young; she was 4 or 5 years. She was very young, and so sometimes you'll hear that and stuff like that. But the presentation's really good. You get to hear and stuff like that. Some people were asking some great questions and stuff like that. Um, so all in all, it was a great time, and it was nice to meet Mike and stuff like that, and talk and have a great time. But I want to give a special call out. There was a young man there. I want to say probably about 10 or 11 years old. He was there with his grandmother, and his name was Campbell. And great kid. Um, this is his thing. He just loves when Mike comes into town and does these presentations. So him and his grandma drove quite a long ways, I believe, to go there and see Mike and see the presentation and stuff like that. So I wanted to give Campbell a shout out. And it was great meeting him and talking to him, and I told him I would mention him on the show, and what a great kid, and his grandma is Donna, and what a vibrant, full of energy person she is, and just it was awesome meeting them, and I just want to give them a shout out. So uh, tonight's show, and we're going back a little bit. We're going back to 2013. And I don't know if a lot of you guys remember, but back in 2013, there was a video that was going around of footage shot in Mayaca State Park. And we'll get into the footage and explain it and everything, because I do have the footage and some pictures that we're going to bring on the show. Um, but it was a case that always interested me. So about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I did drive to Mayaca, and I went to that exact location where he filmed um, a supposed Bigfoot. And I'll let you be the judge. Mike just presents the information that he shot, and he'll be able to um, go into more detail to help us understand what he saw. But amazing area, amazing um, encounter, because he wasn't alone. There was a lot of people standing there that saw the same thing, so it was really cool. But I did get to go back there and check out the area and investigate all around it, tree lines that surrounded the area, stuff like that. So I didn't come up with anything only because I mean this is of course years later. It's 2024, 2025 when I went out there. I want to say 2024, but I'm not sure. So it was many years later, and the hogs out there are so bad; they have just destroyed the ground out there. And but a very interesting area, and you can see why. If you go back, you could probably find that video when I went out there to investigate on the Bigfoot Florida Guy channel. Very neat area. A lot of you guys are probably familiar with Mayaca, and especially with Stacy Brown. He used to do a lot of research out there. There's other videos out there with the Mayaca swamp ape. One was the video where the old lady filmed one in her backyard that's standing behind the palmettos. There's also some other footage. If you type in Mayaca skunk ape in YouTube, you'll see some other videos of some sightings of this elusive creature. So what I'm going to do is bring on Mike. He's a great guy, and we'll get into his famous encounter. Hey, Mike, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I just want to clarify though, I'm not the Mike from the library. Two different mics.
No, two different mics. We got
Right.
Mike Famillant is a great guy, and enjoyed being with him. But I really like your name. You know, I really like that's a powerful name, man. That's a that your last name is really cool.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here. I stay pretty private. I don't do a lot of stuff to do with Bigfoot, but I did get involved after 2013. It kind of became every day after that. I wanted to know what was going on, but before that, it wasn't really my thing. I was going through the park that day. My son and I, we saw something large, and it stood out because we had a big frost, a big freeze that year, uh, probably in February. So all the tall grass was all tan, and this thing was darker. It was dark, and it stood out. It was a good distance. It was probably a half a mile, but with this dead grass and tan, with the naked eye, you could see it plain as day. You can see it walking, moving, squatting down, and as you can see in the video. Now, I do want to explain something about the video. I don't have a lot of technology, and only filmed. I used to do, you know, truck pulls and like tractor pulling. I only videotaped that, so I'm not really good at that stuff. I just videotaped what I didn't do any editing. My son helped me put that up, so he's the one that came up with that music. It wasn't like trying to be drama or anything. My son was at the time, I don't know how old he would be, 12, 13 years old, and that's some sort of um, video game music I don't know that nothing about. So when you watch the video, it sounds like I'm trying to make this big, drama of what I saw.
You're
No,
right.
I had my son help me, and he put that on there, and I didn't think nothing of it. I just was going to put the video up on because I had a YouTube channel, put it up, and I thought that would be the end of it. Some people would see it, whatever. Um, but it did change my life. My life changed that day. Every
Well, it
day
does.
after that.
It does. It creates that rabbit hole. You know what I mean? It always takes that one shocking encounter, and then everything changes. Your whole perspective changes of the woods.
Yeah, I used to hunt. Well, I don't. I really don't hunt much anymore, but I still fish. But hunt and fish my whole life. I spent my whole life in the woods, and I've never seen evidence of anything. So I guess you could say I was a non-believer. But from that day on, that very next day, and every day after that for weeks, I was in the woods in that area. I wanted to know what I saw, and I really learned a lot. I learned a lot just going out there the next day, the day after, the day after. The following weekend, I went out there with Stacy. Stacy Brown came over, and we went out there at 10:30 at night the following week on a Saturday night to a section of woods where there's no access from the park. There's no hunting, there's no camping, there's no cows, there's nothing in the section that it was in, which is if you look in the background on the video, that head of woods clear in the back, there's no access there. It's on the other side of the Mayaca River. So at the time, um, of that night, I could only run as far as the Mayaca River, and I stopped, but it was already ahead of me and into the trees.
Mhm.
And I videoed. I thought I was videoing. It's an iPhone 4, and there's no zoom on it. So the video that I thought I was doing wasn't turning out. So I luckily I did stop. I did take some pictures, so I was able to zoom a little bit on the pictures. That's why there's pictures that are blurry, but obviously I didn't have a good camera. I did buy that week. I bought all kinds of cameras. I've had a dash cam ever since that day. I keep those. I went out and bought better cameras. I was going to be prepared, but the way I guess I won't go into how I investigated it. I guess I could go into how I saw it. What happened? I back then
Yeah,
I
just
had a
leading
pass.
up to it. You're I guess
Yeah.
you and your son are driving in your vehicle. You're going
hmm
through the park.
Yeah,
You
it was sun
glanced
was
out.
going down. It was late. Probably in March, I think maybe 5:30 at night. The sun was kind of going down. Um, I used to have a pass in the gate code for the park, so I live on the back side of the park. So I cut through the park to get over to the south end of Sarasota. And at the time, my girlfriend lived off Clark Road, so I cut through there whenever I was going over there. So I drove through the park day and night, sometimes 2 in the morning, sometimes every day after work. I knew the park. I've known it my whole life. I used to fish it and things like that from when I was a kid because I lived close by. But I knew everything about the park. I recognized the animals. I recognized, you know, this sounds weird, but I recognize the animals. And I used to videotape them and take pictures all the time, but I drove through the park all the time. And that night, it was Saturday night, I left my house and we were cutting through the park and it was about 5:30. There were still some people left in the park. And I was just kind of cut through and I was going to my girlfriend's house and we're going to go out to dinner or whatever and had my son with me. And we're driving through and a truck in front of me was pulling over and stopping and looking, and that's common in the park because there's a lot of deer, hogs, and whatever people want to look at. Normally I just go around them, and they just kind of, I'm courteous of people looking in the park because that's what they're there for, and I'm just using it as a cut through, and I'm respecting the fact that I'm allowed to drive through there. But when this truck was pulling over, my son and I both looked to the right, and immediately we saw it was a good ways out there, but you could see it because it was dark. It was dark, and the grass was tan, and it stood out, and it was walking, and you know we pulled over immediately. When we pulled over, I grabbed my camera and I started videoing, which wasn't very good, but that's what you see in the video. And then other people probably saw us doing that. They probably thought we were looking at deer. So they probably thought there was deer. So the people behind me started pulling over, expecting probably, oh, there must be a lot of deer because why is it, why did I pull over and leave my door open and my truck running and I'm videoing? So other people are pulling over to see what we're looking at. Well, they saw it. You can kind of hear some people talking, and but what would happen? Why when we first pulled over and other people pulling over, when you first look, sometimes people would get bored and start walking away. Well, that's because it would squat down, but when it would stand back up, it would walk. It'd walk another 25 feet and then it would stop, and it would just squat down. And I never forget how it squatted down. It just that's what it was doing. Then you couldn't see nothing. And then it would stand up and it would go again. So that's what we were seeing. My son and I, we weren't like afraid. It was the sun was still out. It was a half a mile from us. You could see it with your naked eye. iPhone 4, of course, the video. I didn't know the video was not video, and I thought I was getting something. My son and I decided to get closer, so we ran, tried to get as close to it as we could, and we'd run out there, and it would stand up and it'd move, and would get behind some of the brush, and we can only go so far because what you can't see out there where it was versus me is there's a Mayaca River runs through there, and it starts getting muddy right before the Mayaca River, and the river
Mhm.
was really low, but you still really couldn't cross it. I had decent clothes on, I was going to town. Um, but once it got ahead of us and got in the woods or whatever, we went back. But we were excited that whole night. I mean, we were for a long time. And my son is that's not his thing. He does not like to draw attention to himself. But I mean, he was on the phone with his mother, and I was calling people, and we were really hyped up because we had a lot of adrenaline going. It was not like it wasn't a bear. We knew we could see it with our naked eye, and if I could only had a good phone those days like we do now, my video would have been so incredible. But I didn't, and I'm just glad I got some pictures because people are always saying, "Well, you're making stuff up." Well, all I did is took pictures of something I saw. I'm not one out in the woods hunting and looking for it. It just happened to me in front of me, and we took pictures of it and we ran and got as close to it as we could and got some pictures, and that's pretty much it of the time of the video of what happened. Now, because of that, and it got me thinking. I go through the park every day, used to, and I can't do it anymore. They stopped it, but I knew for about 2 weeks something wasn't right in the park. I could tell there were things that were different back then for about 2 weeks. I didn't know what it was. I just noticed, because I go through there all the time. I videotape, animals, deer, hogs, whatever. But there was more buzzards than I'd ever seen since then. I've never seen so many buzzards out there. There were so many buzzards. I mean, it was a crazy, crazy herds of black buzzards all out there. Well, I never seen so many. I'm just saying, okay, well, there are a bunch of buzzards out there, but I don't know why. After I started going through the woods and walking all those trails and seeing what was going on, I understand why there's so many buzzards. You had mentioned there's a lot of hogs out there. You know, when they trap a lot, they thin them out a little bit, and
Mhm.
sometimes it gets to be a few more. But when I went out there were dead pigs, quite a few dead pigs. Why? I don't know. I mean, young, healthy pigs. There was one that had his front leg snapped off and he was running
Mhm.
around on three legs. This is the next day when I went out trying to, uh, look for footprints, which I can go into later, and just see what was going on. There was trails. There was all kinds of ambush points in that dead grass, and there was a ton of trails. I'm sure they're made by the pigs and the deer and things like that. But there were hurt pigs, dead pigs. There were maimed pigs. Um, that just kind of struck me as strange because I've never seen that since then. You could go out there right now, walk around. You're not going to see a bunch of hurt, dead pigs, broken legs, hopping around, fresh, dangling legs, weird stuff. I mean, I don't know what could cause that, what breaks, pigs' legs, but that's what I found the next day. And then
Wow.
I continued because that head of woods on the other side of the river that you see in the background, I knew that's where it was. So I started going out there and I did find a footprint, and it was 15 inches long. I do have a picture of it somewhere. I should have had it probably ready for this, but I didn't. I didn't get it ready, but I do have one picture of one footprint. I measured it 15 inches long. Um, that head of woods on the back side. Now it's not big enough. I don't think this thing lives there. I think it was traveling. We have or not bobcats, panthers. I've seen two right in the same area. I've never seen any panthers my whole life hunting, but there I've seen two. And I do believe that they travel up and down that Mayaca River, the
Mhm.
panthers down to the Everglades and back. And I think that's what this did. I don't believe it lives there. I believe it was just up there for a while, maybe a week or two until it gets spooked off, which I'll tell you how that happened. Um, I think it was just traveling through there and an opportunity because there's a lot of food. But when I was out in the woods over there, there's nothing over there. There's no campers because it's not accessible. There's a broken dam at the time. It's gone now that I was able to walk across every day, and I went in those woods and I just with fine tooth comb, I just walked real quiet with my camera and I was just looking for anything, and there was nothing over there. Not, I mean, there's some deer print maybe, but no cows, no humans. And the two things I did find in that week for that, week every day after that was Saturday. And I went every single day, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, all the way up until uh, Stacy and a couple of his guys from all over the country all showed up. And then I started taking them out and showing them what I found and explaining, what was going on. And they were doing their investigating. But a weird thing I found one morning is about 3 foot up an oak tree. Now, this might sound a little graphic or whatever, but if you ever seen a cow pee, and a cow
Mhm.
pees a lot, that's what it looked like on this tree. It looked like a cow had just backed up to the tree and peed on it. A female cow, about 3 feet up the tree, was wet, and the whole tree was wet all the way down, and there was a pile of foam at the bottom.
Oh wow.
Okay. kind of weird. There was no, the ground was, a lot of broken palm fronds, that kind of a ground. It wasn't mud or anything. So, but if it was a cow, I still would have been able to see its footprints sticking in the
Oh
ground,
yeah,
I would think.
absolutely.
But I don't know what it
It,
was. And because I did a little bit of homework and I was trying to find any evidence, I went back to my truck. I had a paper bag, I had gloves. And what I did is I took all the sticks and everything where the foam was. And when I came back, I was only gone for 10 minutes, maybe 15, to go to my truck and back. Because I mean, I wanted to get this. I didn't want to lose the spot. That foam was mostly gone. That tells me that this just happened. Okay, there's
right.
nothing out there. There's no cows, there's no horses, there's no people. And this tree was wet, 3 feet up, all the way down, and it was foam. So I bagged it. I put it in a paper bag. I used my gloves, did everything I learned to do, and I sealed that up. I ended up giving that to Stacy uh, when those guys came. I didn't know that they were coming. I didn't expect. I was called at work. I mean, my office says, Mike, you got a phone call, something about Bigfoot, and I was like, what? That's how this all happened. I wasn't, I didn't know anybody was coming. And those guys all showed up within a couple days. And by the following Saturday night, I took all those guys out about 10:30 at night. This is back when I had access to the park and I had the gate code and I could get in there. I took them across that dam and we started at the north end of that head of woods where there's nothing out there. And we spread out and we started walking, and it wasn't very far into it, 10 minutes into the walk, and there was something crashing ahead of us. Could have been a deer, I don't know, but it was something big running from us, and it was just crashing. So that was it. Okay. After we, at the end of the night, that was it. We heard something, we crashed real big in front of us and ran from us. It was running south. We started north in that head of woods in the back view of that video. The next thing that happened was Sunday morning. That was Saturday night, 1 week from when I saw it. Sunday morning, there was somebody put on YouTube, a woman put on YouTube, which I just looked when you called me. Apparently, she has now taken it down, but I know in 2022, I looked it up just thinking about it. It was still there. She filmed on Highway 72 at Mayaca River. Like I said, I believe the bobcats and this thing travel the river. She was on Highway 72 and she videoed exact same thing I saw. It was exactly her video was like exactly actually better because you could see it. She called it a bear walking on its hind legs. And that's what she put was a bear walking on its hind legs. The video was probably only about a minute long, because she saw it for probably 10 or 15 seconds and then she kept videoing and it was gone. But it was plain as day. It was the exact same thing. And it was right after we flushed it directly that way. It would have been coming out right where she was. And it was 10:30 the night before when we chased it. This was sun up, 7 a.m. Sunday morning. And this is not even 3 miles further south. And I do believe it went south because after that, I never felt like it was there again. I went through the park every single day. I kept looking. I just felt like it went quiet. It was gone.
Right.
I don't think it ever came back. I don't know about other sightings or whatever, but what I saw, I feel was there for a week or two before I saw it because the amazing amount of buzzards. I used to drive through there, a couple days before I saw it, and I'd be, why are there so many buzzards? I mean, it was crazy. I'd never seen so many. And then I see it. Then the next day I go out there, I see dead pigs. I see pigs with their legs broke off. There's no reason why young pigs are dying all over the place and being, legs snapped off. I mean, it just doesn't make
No, I've
sense.
I've ran into the same thing. I have a video where I went out and came across it wasn't a large hog, 25 pounder, but clearly in the video legs are broken. I mean, where the knuckle joint is showing where it was
Yep.
snapped.
Hmm.
Very weird because when we look at things like that, and I was a hunter too, and you were a hunter, and we look at that and we have to say, okay, what animal would do that? A bear would just grab it and just maul it and then carry it off. A panther, Florida panther would bite it on its neck, suffocate it, and carry it off.
Coyotes, same thing.
I can't think of I can't think of an animal that would attack something and break its legs. See what I'm saying?
Right.
And so yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. You know, I've ran across the same thing. It's very very interesting. I've only ran across it once. It was just one hog, just one. But when we went
Well, there was
back,
only one that I saw that had a broken leg. Then there was some dead ones, and then there was some that were already, mutilated. There was nothing left to them. I couldn't tell how long they'd been dead. At least a week. Where there wasn't much left. So
yeah,
I mean,
mine
I
was
saw.
fresh.
Okay.
Mine was fresh. I mean, literally, the only thing I saw wrong with other than the broken legs was the abdomen was sliced open, but nothing was removed. It was shiny. You know that film that like when you clean a deer, that
Right.
wetness look, but it's not wet. It's actually sticky. Um, it was
Was yours dead or
shiny, like
alive?
it was dead.
Oh, mine's alive. It was the
Yeah,
broken,
that's what you
snapped
were
off
saying.
leg. It was,
Yeah,
trying to, I walked out there and spooked it, and it was trying to get away from me, and it's running on three legs with its leg flopping. It was still alive.
that's what I'm saying.
I was
What would
thinking,
do that to a hog?
I
That's
was thinking
amazing,
something tried to catch it and it got away. Is what I was thinking, and it lost it.
right?
Broke its leg getting away.
That's crazy. You could break a leg, deer break a leg, but to
Hmm.
break three, you know what
Right.
I mean? You're scared of something and trying to get out of Dodge. You know,
Right. Another thing too, I found out during that same time, Stacy found this out, and he told me by talking to the park rangers, there had been reported the same week by campers that somebody saw a bear walking on its hind legs. Now that is what I saw, what that woman videoed, and campers reporting a bear walking on its hind legs. Now I didn't think it was a bear. I kind of pretty much knew what it was when I saw it, just because I could see it in my eyes. But it's just strange that so much went on in that period of that 1 week. 1 week,
right?
and I knew something was going on driving through there because I'm used to what it looks like, and it was just different. And you know, I mean, I got nothing. I've never been on a podcast. I don't really, I don't call you. I pretty much if you call me, I'll tell you what I saw. But you always hear about people making stuff up, but and I hate that too. I see stuff all the
Right.
time. I was like, well, that's fake. That's just kind of ruins it because I saw what I saw. I videoed it. I did the best I could videoing it. It got me really wound up, and I learned about this whole Bigfoot world. I had no idea, and I've did a lot of research and you know learning, and just kind of changed the way I look at things because I would
Yeah.
have told you you're
Well, let's
crazy before.
well let's get into it because I'm pretty sure everybody watching wants to see the video. So we're gonna play the video and discuss that. I want to see if I can. Let me do something right here. Oops. Put us off to the side, so hopefully we can stay on the screen. Um, so we'll play the video so everybody can see what your son created. His editing genius,
Mm.
and then we'll get into the stills, which are very very interesting. Okay, so here's the video.
It's huge, though. It's huge, isn't it?
Oh yeah, there now. Wow.
Yeah, you see it?
Huge.
Why did you leave from there? Looks almost like a person.
Well, if it is, I don't know what they're doing out there.
It's going backwards now.
Yeah.
There's two of them.
Think it's orangutan? That's what those pictures were of a while ago.
Waiting for the other one right now. See it?
Oh yeah, where's the other one? I don't see the one.
There he is.
Just walking, chasing him. Yeah. Walking out there. No, we had to get out of the truck. Yeah.
I'm gonna go to my camera because I can zoom in. And let's run, okay?
Oh, are you on?
All right. So that was the video that was shot. So go walk us through the video, okay? Um, the terrain, what we're looking at, and stuff like that, because we're going to get into some of the stills that I've got to show. So
Well, one of the things I want to say is when I said there were two, obviously, a lot of adrenaline, and sometimes it would squat down and you couldn't see it. What I saw when I thought I was seeing another one is there was, I believe it was a deer that was dead, and it was close, and the buzzards were like didn't fly up and then go back down. And
mhm.
from a distance, it would catch your eye. And I kept thinking there was two, but no, there was just one. But when we got closer, it ended up just being some buzzards on a dead deer. There was a lot of dead animals out there, which was kind of strange. I mean, why they're all dying out there? It's weird. I mean, animals don't really go die out there. It just was strange, but it was
Yeah,
buzzards
because
on a
what
deer.
yeah, when I went out there and I was at that location, and we couldn't really walk way out there because it was mushy. You know what I
Mm,
mean? From rains and stuff like that. You could tell anybody from Florida. It's a swampy area. You know what I mean? It's mushy, and but a ton of wildlife. I mean, just standing there looking over that flat area, we saw, of course, egrets, and we saw turkeys, and we saw. I mean, it was just a bunch of different animals, but they were all alive.
mhm.
All of them were alive.
Yeah, there was what was catching my eye is these buzzards kept flying up and back down. They were on a deer, and it was two different areas. But back at the cars, you could tell when it would stand up and start moving again. Oh, there it is. Everybody'd say, "Oh yeah, there it is." Everybody could see it, and then it would stop, and the grass over there was anywhere between 3 and 6 foot deep, maybe 7 foot tall. I mean, 3 to 7 foot tall, and it would squat down every once in a while, and then there would be nothing to look at. And then all of a sudden, boom, there it is walking away again. And that's why we ran out there. Now we can only get so far because between that head of woods, which it went into, and where we were in the middle, there is a Mayaca River. And you can't really see it in all that brush, but that's Mayaca River. And in the summertime, when there's a lot of rain, that whole area is the Mayaca River. But in March, it was our drought, start of our drought, and the river was real small, but I couldn't cross the river and to keep on going. But as you can see, like that one last picture, you see how close it is already to the head of woods. That's the next place. It's just goes in there, and then that's why for the next week I go from the north end. Now it's way further south, but I go for the north end, and I was traveling all through there, walking very quiet, basically hunting without a gun, hunting with a camera, and
Right.
it was in there the whole time. Every time I went in there, I found that out the following Saturday night once we spooked it, because I'm pretty confident that's what was that loud that we spooked, that the woman videoed. That next Sunday morning, uh, you know, 3 miles, I'd say it's about 3 miles down the river where it came out. And I'm sure it continued on south. I think it went back to the Everglades. I never had any inkling that it was ever back in the park, at least my feeling. and I go through there. Used to go through there every day, and I had a pretty good feel for what was going on in there.
Yeah, and people need to understand that that road 72. It's a very well kept road, very decent road to drive. You don't have a lot of potholes or anything like that. It's a very nice road to drive, but it's very isolated. It's nothing but woods and open cattle prairies and stuff like that as you go through it. But it's very easy for something to travel long distances and not be seen. There's
Yes.
plenty of places to hide. You can probably go from Mayaca State Park to Highlands Hammock State Park in Highlands County and never be seen because of all the wilderness and open plain, forested cattle areas and stuff. Um, you could hide. So it's
Like I
very.
said, I've never seen a panther, Florida panther in my life, all the hunting I did. But
Mhm.
in that spot where this happened, my going through there all the time, I saw two panthers. One of them was at about 5:30 in the afternoon, and it waited for me to drive by, and I saw the rear view mirror where it crossed behind me. It waited for me to go by. That was in the park, saw the long tail. And then the other time was about, you know, I don't know, it was dark, so 12 to 2 in the morning. I was going the opposite direction, and it crossed in front of me, and my headlights saw the long tail. So I've seen two panthers. So that I think there is, and I know the Panthers don't just like live in there. I think they travel, and I think
I think
that's
they
what it was
travel.
doing. Is like the Indians used to do. They travel where the food is. This thing, obviously, we spooked it off pretty good. I mean, will it come back? Maybe in 10 years. Who knows? Maybe when the food's right. But that's what I believe. I believe it travels.
I agree. I agree. I'm not. A lot of people use the term migration. I don't think there's so much migrating as in they're just traveling. They're just moving from one food source to another food source, one safe area to another safe area. I 100% agree because where I research is the same thing. I'll have activity for X amount of time and then it just dies off and there's nothing going on, which again they could travel south and go start going towards Mayaca. So um, let's
Now,
show up some of these photos here too as you're talking. I'll bring them up one at a time. So
well, that's my camera zoomed all the way in, and it's making its way to the woods. And when it got in that head of woods, obviously that's it wasn't much longer after this. It was in those woods, and you could see the sun's going down. I think if I, um, I think it was like around 5:30 at night, and it's before the time change, so I was probably dark by 6:15, and so it was kind of late in the day. But you can see how tan all that grass is. That's from a
right.
freeze that we had in February. So I go through there sometimes now in March, and sometimes the grass is already turning green. So it's just that year it was all tan.
Yeah, and I've been out there, and that grass. Once you get further and further into it, it's. I'm 5'10" and it's waist high. And some are even taller. There's areas
Yes,
where it's even taller.
yes.
That right there, like that picture right there, it's very evident that it's standing tall. You know what I mean? It's bipedal. It's standing tall.
And you
It's
could imagine with your naked eye how clear I was looking at it, how good that looked. Now that was still a long ways from me. That's my camera zoomed all the way in the best I could without it going completely pixelated and blurry. But with the naked eye, that was a much sharper image. And I just wish I had a better camera.
Yep. And that's the thing is, and because you're taking multiple photos, it's in different. It's moving. It's not in the same location in each photo. Um, I don't think a bear would stay upright that long. You know what I mean? It
I
would go
saw it with
down.
my naked eye squat down, and it squatted down looking at me. When I got close, it squatted down where its knees, were kind of outward, and it squatted straight down to where I couldn't see it, and then it stood up and it would brisk walk away from me and get, it would find it was like the grass, some of that grass was taller than it was, and it would get behind it, but it squatted down one time. It was facing me when it did. I'll never forget how plain of a view I had. I can imitate how it squatted down. Well, maybe not anymore with my knees, but it squatted down and facing me, squatted down in the grass, couldn't see it. And then it stood up and then it, briskly walked some more and never ran.
And what gets me is I've researching, getting ready for the show and stuff like that. How there were literally people saying that, oh, that's a deer. That's a picture of a deer. There's no way you can look at these pictures and say that's a deer. It doesn't even if you misidentify, deer would not be what I would come up with even if I did misidentify. Um, Especially this picture. It's this one, but I've basically the same one. It looks like an arm.
It had two of them. I can
You
assure
know,
that.
it looks like it's standing upright and its arm is extended, as in, when you're walking and you're moving and your arms are moving up and down. It looks like something bipedal. A, definitely to me a clear arm. So, but there's no way I can look at that and say, yeah, that's a deer. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
far from it.
You know,
And
and
this was the exact thing that was filmed Sunday morning off of Highway 72, about 3 miles south, after we started to the north and worked our way, with Stacy and a few other guys through the woods, with night vision and all that stuff. And we spooked something big, and it ran and didn't stop.
right.
And then the next morning, this same thing like this, and a woman, she must have recently just took down her video because I looked for it. But what she said was, "Oh, a bear walking on its hind legs," is what she said, and she had basically the same exact video of what you're looking at right here, and hers was on the video, and it was on Highway 72, right beside Mayaca River, which this is right at Mayaca River.
Hmm.
And I believe that was, it was this day was Saturday night. The next Saturday night, we ran it out. It was a Sunday morning where she filmed it.
Wow. Yeah, it's to me. I mean, you look at that, and I'm going to do this real quick, because I got so much stuff on here. But I want to do a real comparison. It's not a great comparison, but it gives you an idea of that body posture, that look, and then you look at something like this. See what I'm saying? There's some similarities.
It was very thick body, just like that. It was a very thick. I mean, I didn't make the face out, but that's yeah, that's about what it looked like. The
See,
arms were thick.
yeah,
The arms were big. That's why we would say, "Oh, it's huge, it's big." This thing was very, very thick, very wide, very thick. The arms were thick, the chest was thick.
yeah. Well, in this photo right here, it looks thick, and if that's bent at the elbow, if you just drop that arm down, that's a
Mhm.
long arm. That's a very long arm. I mean, it's down by by his mid thigh, if not longer. I mean, that's you know, there's no neck. It looks like a what I mean. It's like a football player. It's just a very strong posture. Let's see if
One
there's
thing
any
I
other.
can say, which I never smelled anything. You always hear about, oh, the smell. I never smelled anything. I don't know. Maybe it was the wind, but I never picked up on any, skunk ape smell. I didn't. I'd say I would say it if I did, but I never smelled anything. Never, nothing out of the ordinary. So I don't know if it was the wind. Maybe it was blowing a different direction, but I never smelled anything.
Yeah, and that's common. A lot of the people that we've interviewed, and especially in when I'm doing research and talking to different people, is there's not always a smell. And I think it's actually less prominent of smell than you're more likely to not have a smell than have a smell. What I mean? I have my own theory on that. I've discussed the theory with different researchers, and that's all it is a theory. But to me, I think it's probably a two part for the smell. One is like a skunk; it's a warning. I'm in the area. Go away. I already see you. I already know you're here. So I'm going to give off this putrid smell to probably irritate you, so you'll go away. Or male or female, I don't, it's hard to determine, gives off the smell as a mating thing, saying, "Hey, I'm good to go. Come visit me." You know what I mean? Um, Both would work, or it could be doing it for both. It uses it for both. I don't know. Um, But I think if you catch it at certain times of the year or certain times, about you won't get a smell because
And there's certain
maybe it's
times
not
it probably
threatened.
stinks just because maybe it's rainy season and they got to go through a bunch of swamps. But this was the dry season, and it was
Hmm.
very dry in March. That's the start of our drought. Even though it started the drought this year a little sooner, but maybe it doesn't stink as much. It doesn't go through as much of swamp and mud, and you know maybe that's the reason. Maybe certain times of year it
But
stinks more than others.
well, yeah, because you got an animal that's definitely not bathing. You know what I
Right.
mean? He's covered in hair. He's bipedal. I mean, he's quote human-like, so he probably has body odors, probably really bad. Sleeping on the ground, stuff like that. You know, probably has excrement on his backside. Because of
Mm.
all the hair. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why this thing would stink, and and some of it is just normal, and some of it could be theory. So, but it's definitely interesting. So
I do
after all
want to
this,
say one
yeah, go
thing
ahead.
because I did say that I feel I don't go through the park anymore because they changed that and they don't let us do that anymore. So I don't go through the park in the last probably couple years anymore. So I'm not in tune with the park as much. I do go through it on the weekends, but through the back gate when it's open weekends and holidays. But I did say that I feel like it was gone and I did feel that way. But I do want to say because around this area, there are several people that know that I saw that. So there's other people that confide in me in what they see. And I do hear of sightings. A lot of them never make it out, never go, public with it. But I do hear other people come to me or call me when they think they saw something or they know they saw something. So I do hear this stuff because people confide in me now, and they did back then. I had people come to me and tell me their stories. They would never repeat them to anybody else. So there's a lot more that goes on, and I learned that by the fact that you guys, after I put that video up, everybody kind of came to me, and then it got known that I saw it. So people come to me and say, "Hey, here's my story. Here's what happened to me," and a lot of these people would never tell anybody else. They just won't talk about it. So I've heard some pretty neat stories. I still hear an occasional story here and there. One just happened not too long ago. It was a 2-day event. Somebody walking a dog, very remote area out here, and they told me about it. So it does. There are still some stories going on. People still are seeing things. When I say I don't think it's here anymore, I'm talking about that period. What I saw, I think it came and I think it left. Do they come back in the area again? I'm sure
Right.
they do, but I haven't seen anything since then, and I believe mine was chased out.
Oh yeah, and I agree with that. And like I said, even though, like I live in Highlands County, and I forget how long it takes me. It doesn't take me, I don't know, hour and 45 minutes to get to Mayaca, but it's all country roads. It's all country roads, and like I said, I could get from my county to Mayaca and never be seen. If I wanted to hide from the police and get away, I could hide. You know what I mean? I can make it very difficult, and it could easily be the same creature. It could easily be this same unit, or if there's a family of them, or whatever, traveling and just moving to safer areas. Like I said, when things pop up here, I'm out there all the time. I'm checking things out, so of course I'm bringing attention, and then it leaves. Like you said, you're out there. A lot of people saw it. It's bringing a lot of attention. People are going out there now looking to see if they can catch it, so it leaves. Um, I think that's a true statement. I think that happens. Like I said, food sources is a big thing too. But I don't think it would leave Mayaca to look for other food sources because there is a lot in Mayaca. I've that's probably that park is the most, and I'm born and raised in Florida, and born and raised here. That's the most I've ever seen in hog activity, and it's the most I've ever seen with alligators. I mean, there's ungodly amount of alligators in Mayaca. I went out on one of those airboat rides out there, and there was a sandbar. I There had to have been 1,000 alligators on that sandbar. You know
That's
what I
the
mean? They're
lower
just
lake. The lower lake
Yeah.
has a hole. That hole is like 130 feet deep, 150 feet deep.
Wow.
And so if you follow Mayaca River down 3 miles past 72, go south 3 more miles, that's lower lake. There's upper lake and then there's lower lake. And I used to fish that all the time. On the south end of the lower lake is a round hole. It's about 150 feet deep. And right now in the wintertime, all those gators are up on the bank, and it is wall to wall solid gators. You should Google it. It's the neatest thing to see. But yes, as far as animals go in the park, there's a lot. It's a kind of a cheesy, dumb video, but I made a video on my YouTube channel, which is inactive. I haven't touched that YouTube video probably since 2014, 15, something like that. And I still have like 10,000 subscribers. But if you watch one video I made, it's really corny. I'm not a YouTuber. It's called This Is My Aka. And that's from all my trips going through the park. Those are all the things that I see. Most every video there is in the park. I actually get right up on some gators. There was one gator with her mouth open. She had real clean, and I got right up to her. And I knew she wasn't going to attack me. She would turn around and run in the water, but I walked right up. I snuck up real slow and I took pictures right in her face. There's another one I hang off of a tree and I'm leaning down and I get a picture of another big gator, and I take pictures of some deer, and I get some pictures of a rut and buck, a buck and rut, and I get some pictures of some killed deer and some turkeys, and then mostly everything is just driving through the park. So that's back when I used to drive through the park all the time. Gators
Right.
crossing the road in front of me. So there's a lot of activity, and I video some of it, to show you a little bit what Mayaca is like.
Oh yeah, I do the same thing. Exactly. I do the same thing when I'm out. I take pictures and video of my surroundings and wildlife and stuff like that. But just out there, matter of fact, a lot of people used to. I don't know if they still do, but kayaking was big out there. And until one day, there's that little bridge when you enter the park, and people fish
Hmm.
off the bridge. And
Hmm.
I'd watch them, and as soon as they hook a fish, they got to reel that thing in so fast because the gators will attack the fish. And I was standing there looking out the bridge, and I saw the largest gator I have ever seen in my life in person. To me, looking back, I'd say the thing was 14 foot. Somebody could probably argue and say maybe 12, but it was huge. So I was like, nope, I would never kayak in there. And that day we went to investigate your sighting. Um, I probably saw 50 gator that day, just walking around and checking different areas. There's a lot of gator. If anybody wants to come to Florida and see gators, that's where to go.
I grew up here. I was born and raised here and in that park. And I used to wade fish Upper Lake, and I bass fished, and I would go into water sometimes when the dam used to be there up to my neck by myself, cross that lake. I look eye to eye to gators. I actually had one run into my knees underwater in a storm, and ran into me, and about knocked me over, and it scared me pretty bad. I didn't wade fish for a long time after that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I know this area, this park. I spent my whole life in it, so for me to see something and it's definitely not a deer.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm looking at the pictures, and like I said, even if I misidentified, a deer would not be what I come up with. See what I'm saying? It doesn't even come close to resembling a deer. You know what I mean? And the thing is a lot of people they insult our intelligence. Especially yourself and myself. We were avid hunters. We know what a bear looks like. We know what a bear looks like. You know what I mean?
I've never
I know what a
seen a
dog
bear
looks
in the
like.
woods. I've never seen a bear
You
in the
know,
woods where I hunt. I know that they're
I've seen
further.
them, not out there though.
Yeah, they're not as common in our area. I don't even, but I know they're further east of here, maybe further north. But we don't really have any bear that I know of that in this area. I've never seen one in all my days. I've seen two um, panthers, and that's like the most awesome thing. That and
Oh,
you know,
that's amazing. Just
yeah,
in that in itself is amazing
same spot
because
in the
that's
same
something we
spot.
know exists. Oh
Hmm.
wow, because we know that exists. We know that for a fact. There's Florida Panthers. There's only about 200 and something in the entire state, and you see one. I tell people I use that analogy all the time when I'm out there. Is like if I can catch a Florida Panther on film, I can catch a Bigfoot. You know, I can
I
do
didn't
it.
get
It's
either
gonna
panther
happen.
on film, and I only saw two, and both of them were different, probably at least a year or two. I can't remember now, a year or two apart, but they were no more than a mile from this sighting. I'm thinking it's that same
Right.
fall in that Mayaca River.
Yeah, I have a relative that lives off of 72 out there somewhere. Owns a lot of property, cattle, stuff like that. We're not close. He's more the older generation of my family. He's, I think, considered a second cousin or something like that, and he's in his 60s or 70s. But I would love to tap his mind because he lives in that area to say, hey, have you ever heard or seen or experienced anything out here? You know what I mean?
Be
So
surprised.
yeah,
You'd be surprised.
and that's what it
What
takes
people
is these
tell me,
private landowners.
the things that I've
Yeah, go ahead.
learned from this, from other people that confide in me and tell me their stories, is amazing.
Oh yeah, that's why I always take time to listen to what somebody has to say and stuff like that, because you find common ground. You're like, holy crap, I've seen that, I've experienced that, or you know, you know, even attributes, like structures or something like that, and you can say, well, I've seen that. I've said, okay, I did not know it could have been that. You know what I mean? But very, very, very interesting. So now, time has passed, and do you still go out and do your own level of researching to see if you can come across this thing again?
I keep my eyes peeled. So when I drive across the state, I will look, I look far, like most people just look at the road straight ahead. I'll glance over it and I'll look far across the pasture near a tree line. I'm always looking to, I just know to keep my eyes out. If you don't look, you won't see it.
I do the same thing when I'm driving, and I'm like, I'm just waiting for this thing to just bounce out and then bounce back into the woods or something, and give me that brief glance.
Always ready, and I'm always thinking about it. I go to work every morning at 5 in the morning before the sun comes up, and I have a dash cam. I always have my phone ready to go, and I'm always thinking if something walks in front of me, it'll be videoed because I have I mean, ever since that day, I carry cameras. I upgraded my cameras. I have dash cams in all my vehicles. I don't want to miss
Yeah,
anything.
that's what I was going to ask you. Is now in hindsight, you're more prepared. You've got a better phone.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Hopefully, you get away from the iPhones to go with an Android.
No, I still got an iPhone.
Because I got mine's now 4 years old, the S22 Ultra. I can zoom in 100 times, and I can. You've seen the commercials and stuff where they zoom in on the moon, and it's almost like you're standing on it. That's how amazing this camera is on these
Wow.
Androids, and the video quality is amazing. It's really good. That's the one thing with Android has above the iPhone is cameras. They demolish them in cameras. So I always encourage people to go with an Android, but as long as everybody out there has a phone on them, get the footage. You know what I mean? Get the footage.
There's got to be better footage coming soon because if I had better camera then, that would have been a footage of a lifetime. That would have been
Right.
what I could see with my naked eye. If I could have got that on video, we wouldn't be discussing this blurry blob. It would have been crisp. It would have been so incredible. That's why I just hope to see something one more time because if I can see it again, I'll have the video, and the chances of me
Right.
seeing it again are pretty slim. But that day, gosh, if I could have only had good video, it would have just been the most incredible video ever. But I had, a camera that didn't
That's
zoom.
how it works. That's
Yeah.
how it works. I mean, it's always hindsight. You look back going, man, what if this, what if that? It's done it to me where something happen. I'll be walking to my vehicle, and let's say I have 100 yards, 200 yards, and I'm out of the woods. I'll be back at my truck. So I start shutting things down on me. Just starting to shut off the audio, shut off everything, and then boom, something happens. You know what I mean? It's just, or I pull in, I'm getting out of the vehicle. I haven't even set anything up yet, and there's activity going on around me, and it's just, it just kills you sometimes. Kills you. If
Well, at
anybody in
least
the
I
chat room
got.
has any questions for Mike, go ahead and start putting your questions out there, and I'll let Mike have an opportunity to answer those. But put them in capital letters so I know which ones are the questions you want to ask Mike. Go ahead, Mike. What were you saying?
I was just gonna say, thank God I at least stopped the video and took those pictures, because if I hadn't done that, I would have had no evidence of that I saw anything.
Yeah.
The pictures
Well,
I
I'm
took,
glad you did because
the iPhone
you're
4
here
would
today because
zoom
of it.
a little bit with the camera. It doesn't have zoom on the video back then.
Well, you got to give yourself some props, Mike, because it's been 13 years and we're still sitting here talking about it. See what I'm
I
saying?
remember it like it was yesterday. That's why when you asked me if I mind coming on here, I said it's it's all I remember it like yesterday. I can tell the detail of the story, every bit of it, because it I'll never forget it.
Yeah, the my first encounter was in 2005, and it still sticks with me. It still haunts me. I mean, I can shut my eyes and relive the entire situation. That's what I think. That's what surprises people is that's one of the things they'll say is, "Well, I talked to Mike 13 years ago when it first happened, and he has the same amount of detail today that he is as he did then." That's because it leaves that imprint. It's such an amazing time. It leaves that imprint in your mind that you just don't forget it. And you literally relive it. You relive it all the time, every time you think about it. So
Hmm. No, it definitely creates some adrenaline too. I mean, my son and I we were wound up, and he doesn't like the attention and things like that. He at the time was thinking he may go into politics. Now he definitely knows he's not going to. He hates it now, but at the time he was thinking he might, that might be his future or something. He didn't want to, have anything, so he tries to stay, but for him, if you know his personality, for him to, I've seen it. I mean, some people can embellish some stories, and I try to only say the facts of what I saw, and and same with him.
right. Well, I want to thank you for being here, Mike. Like I said, it was one of those things that I've been wanting to do and try to reach out to you and stuff like that. And just one day sitting here doing some research, and it popped in my mind. I was like, why haven't I done it? So I started researching your sighting again. So that way I was able to get your name and look you up and I thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for taking my messages and taking my phone calls.
Oh,
So
you're welcome. I much rather do a podcast than an interview or something, because in an interview, they ask you a question and they kind of narrate the answers and things like that. And I can kind of
no,
tell what happened that day here, a little bit more organically, and exactly, what went down. And, it just, for people that are into this, I mean, this is a good one. Those pictures are real. I mean, I couldn't even make the video. My son did that. That's why that music is so, you know, uh, you know, I wouldn't come up with that music. My son, he was about 13 years old, and he's the one that came up with that crazy music. But we weren't trying to, make any kind of drama. It's just he he helped me make a video. We wanted to put it up on YouTube because we were so excited about what we saw.
no, absolutely, absolutely. And I'm sure if he had to do it all again, he'd edit a little bit differently because
Well,
that
yeah,
music is
he's a
kind of
lot older.
weird.
He's 28 now, something like that. So, yeah, I'm sure it'd be a lot different. But you know what? The pictures are there. We got our story across, put it out there. I had no idea that, I'd have 5 people living in my property within, 3 days. Stacy and his whole people from all the United States were here. I had no idea the Bigfoot world was that big and there was that much into it. Obviously, from that day on, I've been involved in it, following it and, you know, learning. I tried to
Yep.
learn as much as I could in the woods, and I learned a lot. I found a lot of things that if it was just that one thing I saw, I would even doubt myself what did I see. But with putting together with what went on the week before, what was seen in the park, what I found between that pee on the tree, the footprint, 15 inches. The woman, after we chased it out a week later, right where it should have been on the following morning, all that adds up together and just kind of puts a whole. That's what made it for me. That's what
Right.
made me believe my own story, believe my own eyes, I guess is what I'm saying. It's everything that went with it. It wasn't just that one incident. It was everything that happened before that that I didn't understand what was going
Oh
on.
yeah.
That happened for a week after that. It made it
Oh
just,
yeah. It's always the
put everything
the
down.
accumulation, the accumulation of everything else that brings it all together. You know what I mean? And it also will make you look back at your past. It made me look back when I was hunting before my incident on different things that I dismissed. See what I'm saying? That
Mhm.
I wonder if that was that noise I heard was that did or that knock I heard or all these different things that happened 10, 5 years whatever prior to me having an encounter in the woods.
Right.
Um so it always made me scratch my head going, I just wonder. Can't prove it, but it makes you think. Again, Mike, I want to thank you, dude. This was
Thank you.
a great show. I am so glad to have you on here. We'll have to get together sometime. Keep my
Yeah,
number, especially if you come across any new information or anybody else that you might want to forward to me and talk to
will
me.
do.
But hit me up if you ever want to get together and go out to Mayaka. I don't mind making the drive
I live here,
and
so
spend the day and go out there and maybe we do another video and just kind of reenact everything, and stuff like that. Maybe we can even do where one of us, if it's possible, to walk out there and get a size comparison or something like that. You know what I mean? Or I mean, we
to get
make
the
it.
grass the same, it's so hard to get the grass the same. You have to have a good hard freeze, which we just had, and we're having a drought. So you know what? We're having very much same weather right now, I would say, since 2013. We're in a drought. We're getting these frost right now. So, the park
Oh
might
yeah,
be very similar right
maybe.
now.
Yeah, I'm busy this week, but maybe if you got somebody that y'all can run out there this weekend and reenact it and do that, just to give us. Yep, you're standing about how far it was when I took these photos,
Hmm.
and then try to zoom the camera to the extent, don't go past it, of what the iPhone was able to do at that time, and snap off some photos, and we can get some size comparison, because it's just my just dealing with this, especially in the state of Florida. Um, the skunk ape is large, but it's not as large as up north. We're talking anywhere from 6 to 7 feet tall, 7.5 feet probably being a large one. But when you said the footprint size, that is common. That is common straight across the board, 15 inches. Straight across the board. That number comes up
I
more than
measured it, took a
any
picture of it.
number
I
out
do
there.
have that picture, and it was 15 inches. And I do hear that a lot.
Uh,
When I watch these shows and stuff, they talk about they have these footprints at 15 inches. I'm like, that's the exact same size of what I found.
that number comes up so much,
I swear
to the
it's,
point
yeah.
where, I mean, a lot. I've measured footprints. I've caught some that, like you said, when you could tell when something's fresh. I found a print that was in the swamp, and when I found it, it was filling full of water as I'm filming it. So whatever pressed down that soil, and now it was saturated, and the water was coming up. It was filling the footprint. So it was
Hmm.
very, very recent. I mean, within moments of me walking up, and I measured it, 15 inches. It's always around 15 inches. It's just
Yeah, I
amazing.
learned that after I filmed
So
my, video or took a picture of mine and measured it. And I said, okay, it's 15 inches. I didn't know if that was big, small, or whatever, but that's what it was. And ever since then, I hear what you hear. They'd always talk about footprints, 15 inches. And I'm like, well, that's the same as what I didn't know that before.
hmm
I didn't pick up on that until, afterwards. I knew mine was 15 inches. Then I heard over and over and over every time I hear some show or something talk about the footprints, they were 15
hmm
inches.
I hear it a lot. I do. I do. Um, Tennessee was asking, do you have a YouTube channel? You do have a channel, but I think it's not really Bigfoot related, is it?
Yeah, I had a truck pulling video or a YouTube channel, and when I was pulling, truck pulling, I put all the polls up there, and I mostly truck pullers watched it. I had like 10,000 subscribers, but I haven't put a video
Oh
up on
wow.
that thing in years. I still have like 10,000 subscribers, and I haven't even used that. It was mostly truck pulling. So that's the YouTube channel I put it up on, is MoPower05, and obviously to do with and, racing and things like that. So I put a couple other videos up on there, like this is Mayaca, because I was always driving through Mayaca taking pictures and videos. But yeah,
Yeah.
that my YouTube channel is. I put my skunk ape video up on there, but just because that's the only place I had,
Yep.
and I don't pull, I
So
don't I don't pull anymore, so that's why it's inactive.
right, right. Well, but anybody who watches YouTube has a YouTube channel. They just don't use it. You know what I
Right,
mean? And
right.
yeah, that's how I got started and stuff like that. But those of you guys that are interested in seeing some stuff, don't forget Sasquatch Encounter Brigade. That is Johnny's channel. He also has a Facebook page and a YouTube channel, so you can go. He's doing some amazing stuff. Like I said, he's very lucky that he's having Bigfoot stuff going on the property surrounding his home, so he doesn't have to travel like I do. But he does travel. He does. Um, also, my channel, Bigfoot Florida Guy. I also have Facebook and YouTube. Please check it out. I had an amazing last 2 weeks on my channel. A lot of views, getting a lot of views and stuff like that. So really enjoy it. And then, of course, check us out at Sasquatch Unredacted. And don't forget, we do have a Facebook page for the podcast. So those of you who are interested in being on the show, or if you're a researcher, or if you had an encounter or a sighting or something like that, or you have evidence that you came across, hit us up either on Facebook or at SasquatchUnredacted@gmail.com, and we'd love to talk to you. If you're okay with being on the show, we'd love to have you on the show. It's a good time, isn't it, Mike? It's just a conversation. It's a
It
lot of
is.
fun.
It is my first time.
You know. Well, good. That's funny. We've run into quite a few that it was their first podcast, and that makes me feel good. I'm really really happy about that. And it goes to show you that you're not forgotten out there. You know what I mean? And like I said, it's been a while, but you were still on my mind. That's what made me go, I need to look this guy up. So, like I said, it's impressive enough that it's still in the conversation. We're still talking about it in 2026. So, kudos to you. So, well, Mike, good to have you. I hope you have a great week. Try to stay warm, dude. I don't think people realize we're not used to this cold weather.
No, and it's supposed to be getting colder yet this weekend, but I appreciate you having
in the
me.
20s.
Yes.
Oh no, thank you for being on the show. Thank you for entertaining us, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. I think the people in the chat room really enjoyed it. We appreciate it, and just keep looking. Let us know if you find something. And
I never stop looking.
All right. Well, I'm going to drop you backstage, and
All right,
I'll talk to you in just a moment. All right, buddy. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. What a great show. Mike is just a great guy and great conversation and stuff like that. He's the prime example of when you're out there, have your camera ready. You might be lucky like Mike and get some great footage of this thing. So, again, we do have a great show coming up. This is one I've been waiting for. I think it's February 6th. Is that Friday? The first Friday of February. We are going to have Alexander Petikoff from Small Town Monsters. He will be on the show. So please look forward to that. I think it's going to be a great show talking to him and the things that he goes through to produce his shows and the places that he goes to investigate Bigfoot. So I look forward to that. So this is the first time I've been lucky enough to mention that. Alex Petikoff will be on next Friday. All right, that's next Friday. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Please stay warm if you're anywhere where this winter snap is hit from up north all the way to down south. It's really cold. Be safe. God bless each and every one of you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon. Take care.